Hey friend, this is episode number 524 of the And So podcast with Taylor Bradford. Let's get to it. Boss Girl Creative presents And So with Taylor Bradford, business and life musings from a successful serial entrepreneur. Each week, you will hear Taylor spill the tea on all things business, life, relationships, health, and everything in between. But don't worry, each week also includes a business nugget that will help you stay on course. And now a throwback to 3-year-old Taylor who inspired all of this.
And so.
Hello, friend. Welcome to episode 524. I'm your host, Taylor Bradford. Thank you so much for tuning in. I cannot believe next week is the official celebration of my 10 years in podcasting. What? Oh my gosh. And it's going to be such a great conversation for you to take part in. I actually sit down behind the microphone and chat with my podcast editor, Zach, the podcast man. And it's a really good conversation, and you're going to get a lot of little nuggets in there, and you're going to hear some very interesting tidbits between the two of us, and I think you're really going to enjoy the episode. And just quick shout out to Zach, who has been my editor for the entire 10 years that I've been doing this. And he started his podcast editing business officially in 2020. And I'm just so grateful to have him be a part of the Boss Girl Creative team. He is the longest serving member of the team. So, okay, let's talk about a lot of different things today. I want to give you a house update. We poured our foundation today, and I was present for 95% of it, and it was amazing to watch. I cannot believe we actually have concrete. I didn't make it to this step in 2020 when we were attempting to build a different house on a different piece of property before the Karen of all Karens. But I'm so excited that we are here in this moment, and I got to witness my concrete get poured. And we put our little initials on my front porch, and yes, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I have already made sales with my farm stand, and it's not even really like out in the world outside of Facebook Marketplace like I mentioned last week, and it's going good. Like, if I sell some, great. If I don't, it's no big deal. I'm trying to consume as much as I can, and I'm wanting to learn more about like pickling and fermenting and dehydrating. So it's been a fun learning experience as well, and it's really pushing me to like just be more of a sponge in an arena that I have no working knowledge of, and I am basically just winging it, but it has brought me so much joy. And I'm currently struggling with my pumpkins. I have pumpkins. The pumpkins are great. The vines, most of the vines are great, but the initial leaves, the initial vines are not doing so great. And I don't know if it is more due to the influx of rain we had, or if it's squash bugs or something else. I've seen signs of the squash bugs, and I've seen signs of some other bugs, but I don't know that they're infected because the rest of the plant looks well. But yeah, I don't know. And I am organic gardening, so I'm only using things that you would use in organic gardening. So neem oil or BT. And so I'm just like praying that the good guys keep showing up. They are, but I have such a large garden that I'm like, oh man, should I have brought in more to help support such a large space? So food for thought for next spring garden. I will most likely at least add beneficial nematodes to my soil and get that all worked in to help kind of like take care of some of these common pests. So that is that. I'm currently reading Compromised Undercover, which is number 3 in the Lexi Sarconi book series by G.K. Parks, and I'm enjoying that. I'm listening to The Book of Tomorrow by Cecilia Ahern. She is a long time, like I have been a fan of hers for a really long time, and it's been a hot minute since I've read anything by her. What I actually did recently was go into my Goodreads account and look at my want to read list and then reversed it back to the books that I stuck on the list way back 2013, 2014. And I'm looking for those books on my Libby app. And the first one that I found available in my Libby app was this particular book by Cecilia Ahern, The Book of Tomorrow. And it's a lovely read. I am really enjoying it. I finished The Affair, which is Jack Reacher number 16 by Lee Child, 5 stars. I just love me some Jack Reacher, and they just announced season 4 and what the book is based on, and I don't remember what the book is based on, and I don't know if I've read it already, but I'm still trekking through that series. There's quite a few books, and I love me some Jack Reacher. Stats. Let's talk about my compounding social media interest experiment. So I have had a blip in the radar and my stats show it. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I started tracking all of this on January 27th. The goal was to create one short form piece of content and share it out to YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and then 2 long form pieces of content to my YouTube. I have slowed down my long form content on my YouTube primarily because I'm about to run out of content, and I'm trying to get on the garden side of things. I'm trying to get almost more in the moment versus being so far behind. And with the house build, that can still be behind. Like I can still record those videos, but I want to try to catch up with the garden content a little bit faster. And in order to do that, and because I only have so many videos now sitting in the archives, or not the archives, but sitting in the can, I had to slow down just to 1 long form piece of content a week because A, I didn't want to stress myself. I'm already stressed. And B, I was like, I don't want to have to try to figure out what I'm going to record because that will just set me up to fail. And so, so slow moving in stats across all 3 platforms. Also, I did take a break. I had a friend in town to help me with a double header that I had on Saturday for Sugar Creek. And we spent some time together, and it was just like balls to the wall for the entire time she was there. And I just sucked at creating content and getting that out. And now I'm giving myself grace for that and picking up the pieces, and here we go. So I started tracking on January 27th. My YouTube channel had 234 subscribers. Last week I was at 491. I am now at 496. I am 4 humans away from hitting my first milestone on YouTube at that 500 mark, which unlocks, I think, some kind of community feature for YouTube. So I'm looking forward to that. I do have a little nugget that has nothing to do with this week's nugget about YouTube. So I use TubeBuddy, and I actually just upgraded my TubeBuddy subscription to the Legend. I think that's what it's called, the Legend tier, because TubeBuddy allows you to basically say, I want you to recommend my next video or recommend a video when you're posting shorts. I want my recommended video to be my last video. And because I have like 150 something shorts as of now, to have to manually change that particular video on all of those shorts, would take me all day long. And so TubeBuddy has this feature that you can select all of your shorts and then use their function that allows you to change the recommended video in all of those shorts to your most recent video or to whatever video you want to actually, link up to. And the reason why I decided to try this is because TubeBuddy, if you watch them on YouTube, they give some fantastic YouTube stats and like tips and tricks and best practices. And obviously this is supporting their app because this is a paid feature within their app. But they were like, hey, if you want to try to get to your monetization faster, especially if you are creating shorts content, you want your most recent long form content to be the thing that all of those shorts are recommending at one time. And I've already seen a bump in my most recent videos when I have that turned on. Now, I've only done it twice. I've had 2 long form pieces of content published since I upgraded that TubeBuddy thing into the Legend subscription. So, but I'm already seeing a boost and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's almost like an algorithm trick that you have to pay for. TubeBuddy's not cheap. Actually, the regular plan is actually really affordable. And the yearly plan for Legend is not that bad, but they do make you pay for a year at once. And I was like, oof, okay. Okay. So that's a little nugget for you for YouTube. Over on TikTok, so I started tracking on January 27th with 139 TikTok followers. And last week I was at 1163. This week I'm at 1174. With likes, I started out at 1,386. And last week I was at 11,818. And I'm sitting at 11,962. And then on Instagram, I started tracking at 3,470. Last week, I was at 3,590. I lost 2, so I'm at 3,588. So that is this week's stats update. Now, let's get into Search Bar Confessions. I love this series. Again, I said this last week, I'm going to keep saying it. I really am looking forward to talking to humans and asking them their search bar confessions. Okay, so here is what I searched in the last week. How to cook edamame, true fact or true story, true story, true fact, true story, true story, true story. I am growing my own edamame. I've never done that before, just like a bajillion other things in my garden I've never done before. And I wasn't sure how I was supposed to handle them. So now I know how to cook fresh edamame straight out of my garden. I also Googled what is BT classified as in gardening because I wanted to make sure it was truly classified as an organic option in treating bad guys. And then I also searched which vinegar to use for pickling because I have started making dill pickles. And white distilled vinegar has a punch to it. And I'm trying to figure out how to best account for that. Or like, in the color spectrum, you can go across the aisle and those pair well together. So I think I may have to maybe adjust my sugar level. I don't know. It's a little too vinegary and I love vinegar, but it's still just a little too much. I also Googled the Now You See Me cast. Did you hear that they are going to have a number 3 with, I think, all of the returning cast members? I love number 1. Number 2 felt a little off the rails to me, but I'm looking forward to seeing them all come back together in number 3. I also Googled roaches in my garden. This is a phenomenon that I did not know existed, and it exists. So there's that. I also Googled lift master code 69 for my gate because a ice bag, like one of those polar ice with the drawstring at the top, you go and buy a bag of ice, got wrapped around my chain and my gear of my gate at the shop and triggered codes and did not allow my gate to open. So yeah, I Googled LiftMaster code 69 to figure out how I reset my machine, and I had to reset it. I had to retell it, hey, you're open in this particular setting. And then I had to set the close function. So that was fun to do. Good times. Okay, what else did I Google? I cannot connect my phone via CarPlay. I don't know what I did, but I deleted CarPlay somehow off of my phone or the functionality. I don't know, and I don't know how to get it back. And I've yet to find a Google search result that tells me. So if you know, I'd love to know, but so far I don't know. And then 2 more. Best ways to heal a stomach ulcer. I think my husband is struggling with one with all of the stress that he has endured in the last couple of weeks. And Jeep seat upgrades. So we bought a Jeep recently. We're going to use that in Colorado versus trailering our side-by-side. And Jeep seats aren't the greatest. So trying to figure out what our options are for a 12-hour ride to Colorado. And there you have it, my search bar confessions. I love it. All right, let's talk about this week's nugget. And I just have to say, I'm gonna tee up this story, and it's gonna just be like, what? Because that's how I felt. You may not feel all of that, what, like me, but maybe you'll experience just a little of it. So I was on the hunt for a survey for our car lot property. We do have it listed for sale, and somebody was interested in making an offer, wanted to know if we have a survey, and I'm sure I do somewhere. Maybe my bank has it because we added awnings, and I think we took out a construction loan to do that, or at some point we refinanced, I don't know, but we added on to the property and we would have had to survey that, but I don't know where that is at the moment. So I went on the hunt for it, and we have this standing filing cabinet out in one of my containers, and it has literally all of my old stuff, like from the moment Chad and I got together, basically, which is a long time. We've been together since 2003. And so I'm looking for things, and I find a folder labeled gardening information. And I'm like, okay, I think I remember doing this because I had a garden once before. So all of my research that is in there is back in 2007. And so I start peering through, reading what I was researching. And funnily enough, a lot of the things that I have recently researched was sitting in there. And then this juicy piece that really caught me off guard. I wrote on 3 separate notebook pages. I don't know if I was researching via Google or a book. My grandmother gave me a gardening book, and so this information could be in that book, which is older than 2007, or I got this from TAMU, Texas A&M University's extension, and because I had a lot of printouts from the extension helping me understand like spring planting guides, fall planting guides, how to best water, what kind of compost, what percentage of things need to be in your compost, etc. And then 3 sheets of notebook paper with my handwriting, researching and learning about gardening. In the very first paragraph, I'm talking about my growing zone, which the zone itself doesn't matter. It's all about your frost date. So your first frost and your last frost. So last frost for me is around April the 11th, and first frost is somewhere in the November time frame. So I had that information. And then I told myself I have 4 growing seasons. I have spring, which is considered warm season. I have summer, which is considered hot season. I have fall, which is considered warm season 2. And then I have winter, which is a toss-up between cool season / cold season. We kind of sit on that middle ground of cool and cold because we can get some pretty wicked freezes randomly, but it's not always like something that happens. So we are more like in the spectrum of cool, but we could go cold. And all of that has to do with planting and what you can plant in those seasons. So technically, and if you've been a listener for a while, you've heard me talk about this, technically I can grow in my area 365 days a year based on warm season 1, hot season, warm season 2, and then cool/cold season. Okay, here's the what part of this story. And I'm feeling really ripped off, actually. Really ripped off. So when I decided I was going to start a garden, I, of course, dove in. Like, I am the sponge, remember? I dove in and started following all kinds of garden accounts. One of them that I was really fascinated by was over in New Zealand. Obviously, our seasons are very, very different. Like, she's going into summer season when we're coming into fall/winter. But I found her planting methods. Like, I was curious about them. She doesn't really do square foot garden method. She very much densely plants and companion plants, does not use any kind of pesticides or chemicals. She allows the companion plants to bring in the beneficial good guys, and they will take care of the bad guys. So I saved a ton of her Instagram reels and her posts because I was just like so fascinated by how she was growing. And then I stumbled on Gardenary and similar planting style, very much backyard, small space gardening, but similar planting style as the New Zealander. However, she's talking about the Gardenary method, which was warm season 1, hot season, warm season 2, cool and cold season, or cool/cold season. And it's all about your frost dates and where those seasons slot in. So here I am flipping through my folder that I discovered in my filing cabinet with my notes from 2007. And I'm like, what in the actual? I thought this method came from this girl, but it didn't. And I should preface this by saying, out of all of my garden research, I haven't stumbled back on that. So there wasn't anything that made me feel this ripped off feeling until I pulled my folder out of my filing cabinet. And I really feel that she has taken this method, slapped her name on it, created a big company around it without actually honoring where she learned it from. Now, I understand we're all in the boat of learning. Like, I went to Texas Christian University. I don't know that I have retained much from when I was in college. So I would probably be hard up on like trying to identify how I learned that or what I learned that. But I'm also not in the field that I was in school for anymore. So there's that. But I really feel, okay, so let's also talk about this second caveat to all of this. So here I'm feeling ripped off because I have notes from 2007 when I was teaching myself this. But here's the other part. So I signed up for Gardenary 365, which is supposedly a tip a day from your consultant closest to your area, which the girl was down in Houston for me. And that girl was very knowledgeable. So I will, like, props to her. She had a lot of garden knowledge beyond these season things. So I'm in this 365 and I see a bunch of posts about the Kitchen Garden Academy. And I'm like, I just got served up this ad to be in Gardenary 365. I finally get through and I'm in the Facebook group and there are thousands of people in there. And I'm like, I just saw this ad. How in the world are thousands of people already in this. And so I start scrolling through the past posts, and I realize she's utilizing the same Facebook group for all of the things she sells, all of the groups that she sells. So Kitchen Garden Academy, Gardenary 365, and whatever else is going on since. And I'm like, how do you divest the information? How do you convey appropriately the information needed for the people that bought, a very specific thing from you? And it's not a dumping ground. Like the way it's set up, the name of it, all of that, it's not a dumping ground. It's not like, hey, this is the Gardenary community for everybody. That's not what it's advertised as, and that's not how it's set up. So I'm in there, and my very first post was, I'm confused. Am I in the right spot? I signed up for Gardenary 365. Where do I get my daily tips? Like, I'm supposed to be getting a daily tip to teach me what I need to do every single day in my garden. Where is that information gleaned? And then I sit in that group for a while. Like I said, I did learn from the Houston girl, so I appreciate her knowledge. But then I see somebody talking about Kitchen Garden Academy, and then they are really confused about what is the difference between what they have and the Gardenary 365 that they keep seeing her talk about, and how do they access that? Do they have to upgrade? And why would they have to upgrade if they bought into an academy and blah, 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 blah. And multiple posts are that way, and nobody answers. Nobody higher up, nobody a part of the admin team, nobody responds. Nobody answers, including my own post. And that's a shame. That's a shame, because I know she is helping a lot of people at the risk of just being focused on quantity. So your quality goes out the window when your focus is solely about the quantity. And I know that that's a really hard thing to, like, the line in the sand, that's a really hard balance beam to walk. Because if you're selling something that's more focused on, the smaller revenue generating things like $27 a month or $17 a month or a one-time fee of $47, if you're focused there, you do kind of have to sell a lot to hit a large revenue goal, right? Versus if you had some kind of a consultation or group coaching program in the thousands, then you don't have to sell as much to get there. So that fine line of how do you best handle being a quantity kind of seller versus, selling something higher ticket that actually attracts more of that luxury buyer. Like, where's the line in the sand for that? But I can tell you it's not how it is. And not long after I felt ripped off, and then now feeling ripped off for a second time, I canceled the membership, I exited the group, etc., because I just don't want to support someone that's not willing to help the people asking questions. And I get it. She's got consultants, and the consultants are supposed to have the answers, but not when it's directly related to programming. You cannot ask somebody that is a consultant for you to be able to answer well or correctly anything to do with the programming. And here is a lesson in what not to do. But I feel ripped off now even more because that line of thinking with planting methods wasn't original. And that entire time I was blown away by the originality of it. Turns out I was duped. Turns out that's been around for a long time. At least 2007 when I was writing my notes. And I wish I would have cited where I was learning from. I can only, again, I don't really like to assume anything, but I can only assume it was either from Texas A&M or the book my grandmother gave me. So there you have it, folks. Don't rip people off. Don't make anyone feel ripped off. Okay, another lesson in what not to do. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Until next week, where I celebrate 10 years of podcasting. I'm so grateful for you. I hope you'll celebrate with me. All right, until then, have a great rest of your week.
And Phil. Let's go.
And like my 3-year-old self said, that is all for this week. Friendly reminder to rate and review my show wherever you are listening. And last but not least, I'd love to hear from you. Leave me an audio message at bossgirlcreative.com/speak. I would love to hear your takeaways, ideas for upcoming episode topics, and your feedback. Thank you again for listening to this week's episode. And until next time, I hope you have a great rest of this one.